Hello, Youth in Government, and welcome to Y-Line. In tonight's broadcast, we look at the political party system and discussions about reforming it. We have a feature on one of the most controversial bills debated here at SAC, and a farewell to our 66th Youth Governor, Sam Leitchinger. Stay tuned and enjoy the show.
Everything was wonderful and empowering about the conference, with the exception of the political party system. For too long, this has shamed candidates, delegates, and the YMCA itself.
Political parties have long been a topic of debate. It seems like for the past 4 years, every statewide candidate has had party reform as part of their platform. But how much of this talk is just hype, or can we actually expect party reform? And does the program area even need reform? Tonight, we'll look at YNG's most controversial program area through the eyes of 3 delegates: a victim, an activist, and an insider. We'll first talk to Isaac Harris, an AIC commissioner who, after standing through a frustrating Bob II youth governor primary, decided he wanted to take action. It started with an angry rant on the "You Know You're a YNG Junkie When" page, but since then he has been in contact with the YNG staff and will be making a proposal at one of their meetings. So what made you want to post your rant on Facebook?
Well, I was filling out the delegate survey that the staff send out after each conference, and it had this box about suggestions. And I was just reflecting on the whole conference. I loved it, experienced it as much as I could, but when it came to a suggestion, what did I want to change, then that was the one issue, was the political party system and how unfair it was at the conventions.
So what did you want to change about the political party system?
Let me just start out by saying I have great respect for the political party system. I'm only advocating for minor changes. So the biggest change I want to see is take the voting out of the convention, because right now it's too public, it's not anonymous, and it skews it in favor of certain candidates.
And what have you done to try and change it?
Well, thankfully, some of the YNG staff, they responded to the Facebook post and they gave an email that I could send suggestions to. So I wrote up a long email detailing the plan, the suggested route of action, and the main issues that are currently in the system, and I sent that out to the email that the staff presented with me. I also hope to attend the Saturday meeting of the programs committee when they talk about how they're going to change the program for next year.
So how has the staff responded to the emails?
They've been very respectful, especially on the Facebook page, but I haven't gotten an official response yet. I understand that they don't actually read the emails until the conference is over, so I'll probably be hearing back in the summertime.
So in the future, next year, what would be the perfect political party system? What is your solution?
My solution to the current problem with the political party system is to take the voting out of the convention. That means delegates, they can go to the convention that they want, they'll listen to the speeches there, but there's no public voting. You don't divide the room into 2 halves. What happens is the delegates go back to their delegation, and already there's the delegation caucus where you vote for Sec of State, Lieutenant Governor, those positions. The voting would just take place with the delegation caucus.
Now we'll talk to Jack Stone, a former youth governor candidate who may have been disadvantaged by the current party system. So Jack, can you tell us a little bit about your experience running as a youth governor candidate in the Bob II primaries?
Even though I didn't win my election, I really enjoyed the experience because I got to meet a lot of the delegates throughout the program.
What did you think of how the voting was set up, the whole political party convention, and dividing the room to 2 sides as a way of voting?
So at the political party convention, a lot of the people that I had supporting me could come, but a lot of them went to other parties to support candidates from their own delegations. And so I was a little bit disappointed that you couldn't vote for someone running for different offices even though they were in separate parties. But overall, the voting of the separating the people into different parts of the room was okay, but I would change that because certain people in delegations of my opponents had mentioned that they would have wanted to have voted for me, but they couldn't because of their delegation loyalty.
If the voting was changed to where you voted later that night, along with the Secretary of State candidates and the Lieutenant Governor, would you support that measure?
I would definitely think of supporting that idea because that night with the Secretary of State candidates, a lot of people in my delegation voted for candidates that weren't in my political party. And so I think that's one of the best parts about the Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor elections, is that you can vote for people outside of your party.
Finally, we'll talk to Ben Lezebnik, a former youth governor candidate and current party chair, who agrees that minor changes could improve the program area, but is skeptical of the many complete reconstructions proposed by his fellow delegates. The political parties provide a valuable service to candidates by giving them more time to speak in front of the program and spread their message. So there's been a lot of debate about the primary process at Bob 2. Do you feel like there was any bias or unfairness towards some of the other candidates?
Well, I think there's always a disadvantage that smaller delegation candidates have in this process, but I'm not necessarily sure that the party primary is the only reason for that.
How'd you feel about being able to see who was voting for you during the primary process?
For me, it didn't have a huge impact on how I felt about the election. I mean, obviously, I was happy to have won the primary. However, I do think that that is one thing that can be improved.
There's been a movement to try and get the youth governor primary elections to still have a party convention, but have the voting be clumped in with the Secretary of State and the Lieutenant Governor that evening, where you vote with your delegation. Would you support a measure like that, and why?
Well, I think the one advantage that doing the party primaries the way we do currently it does have is that it's such an efficient process. It's very quick.
That's it for tonight's story. If you'd like to read the rest of Isaac Harris's letter, it'll be on whydailyvoice.com. Or, if you'd like to give your own opinion, send an email to nextyear@calymca.org.
Various bills pass through the Capitol here in Sacramento every day. Now, if you don't know how this process works, what basically happens is each delegation brings a certain amount of bills to the legislative committees every year. Then, from there, the lobbyists argue the pros and cons of each bill. They then decide which is the best one, and they either send it to the Assembly or the Senate. There it is decided if it is enacted in law or if it is shut down. These bills can range from legalizing marijuana to teacher tenure. We got the inside scoop on a very controversial bill sponsored by Verdugo Hill's very own Lucas Johansson. So can you give us some details about your bill?
Yeah, well, basically what my bill does is it legalizes prostitution, and in that it does it through brothels and escort services, et cetera, and what that basically does is it takes male and female prostitutes off the streets. It puts them into sort of, legitimate businesses that in the bill it states that that they misuse contraceptives such as condoms and birth control pills, so pregnancy risk as well as STD transference is minimized. Later in the bill it says that if one does become pregnant, which is very, very slim chance, but if they do, the businesses themselves will support that person. What it also does is there's a gender gap, or not gender gap, there's an age gap between 18 and 21. 18 where you can become a prostitute, and 21 where you can use the services of a prostitute. 18 because for all we know, that person could have been emancipated from their family. They could have been in a foster home and aged out, basically. They could have been kicked out, or they need money, or they need money to, pay for college. Them joining a brothel, it's not the most honorable profession, but it does make money. It is a job.
And what inspired you to sponsor this bill?
You see, when you walk down the street at night in lower income neighborhoods, you may see homeless people on the street. You might see men and women wearing skimpy clothing, walking up and down, Hollywood and Vine, and you don't need to subject yourself to seeing that. It's a huge business, although illegal, and it makes a lot of money. And in fact, my legislative analyst said that if this bill passed, it would cost the state around $10 million a year, yet it would make over $60 million in revenue, which can be used for better things such as education and infrastructure.
We went out to see what the other delegates thought about this bill. So what is your opinion on legalizing prostitution?
Well, I think it should be legal because the economic benefits will outweigh what the disadvantages of prostitution are right now, and it'll greatly help prostitutes because being with a pimp is probably the worst experience they could possibly go through.
I do not think it should be legal because I think that if it was legalized, it could put a lot of pressure on lower people with lower income or like unemployed people to prostitute themselves, and I don't think that pressure is a good thing.
So what is your stance on legalizing prostitution?
I am for the legalization of prostitution because I believe that it will reduce in human trafficking and that it will help to regulate an otherwise black market practice.
I'm against it due to previously stated arguments.
So what is your stance on legalizing prostitution?
I'm absolutely for the legalization of prostitution, though I do think that certain bills are more descriptive and certain bills can be very vague, and so it depends on definitely the logistics of the bill. Otherwise, I'm absolutely for it.
Your bill did pass, so how far do you expect it to go?
Well, it's actually priority legislation. It did pass through committee. It passed through Senate. It's on the Assembly floor later today. And I expect that Sam Leitner will sign it, and that it will be on Jerry Brown's desk by the end of the week.
The bill process is extremely challenging and selective, but Lucas's priority bill managed to pass through committee, assembly, and finally was signed by Sam Leitner himself.
Arguably one of the most prestigious elected positions in youth and government is the position of youth governor. You've seen my interviews with the 67th youth governor candidates over the past few days, but now it is time for me to interview the 66th youth governor, Sam Leitner. Hi, my name is Elena Dreisbach, and I'm here with Sam Leitner, your 66th youth governor. So first, what has been your favorite experience as youth governor so far?
That's very difficult. Every day is just another great experience. It's probably speeches at joint session, and then afterwards talking to people and getting feedback about what they thought regarding the speeches, and then having them offer ideas of their own, and that's something I really love to do.
But no one single experience has stood out to you more than the others?
One single experience, probably at one point I walked into the governor's office, and I'd been gone for a few hours, and I saw the entire administration at work, meeting with bill sponsors who seemed so excited to be there, and everybody was really enthusiastic. And to me, I just stood there thinking, this is exactly what I wanted, because I was a cabinet member my sophomore year, and I thought, could I make an even better experience this time? And I definitely saw that right when I walked into the office.
That's truly amazing. So what part of your term has set you apart from other youth gov candidates in the past?
Well, we've done a few things different this year. We've worked very heavily with the Department of Finance to coordinate the governor's office, sending representatives over to work on the budget with them. And also I've had the opportunity to talk to legislators and present bill ideas and hopefully move forward the legislation that we pass and I sign to the actual California legislature. And that's something I'm really looking forward to in both increasing the YNG brand name and giving us something to look forward to every Sacramento in addition to the great conference we already have.
That's really great. So what are you passionate about outside of youth and government? What do you do in your free time? What do you do when you're not here?
I'm heavily involved in politics still, in other activities. I like to play tennis, and I have debate organizations, and organizing community service at my school is really important to me because I'm at an underprivileged school, and so making sure everybody gets what they need I think is really important, and that's something I look forward to.
I never would have guessed about the tennis. If you couldn't go into politics, which career would you choose and why?
Mm-hmm. I think if we're not counting the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department, as that I always thought it'd be fun to go into to be an agent, a talent agent. I love the show Entourage, and Ari Gold is one of my favorite characters in all of television, and I just find it really funny. Of course, he's based off of a person who's very irritable in real life, Ari Emanuel, but it seems like an extremely fun job and a great way to meet tons of interesting people.
So if you had to create a job description for the position of youth governor, what do you think you would say in that?
The youth governor is largely the face of the program, so it's a lot of time commitment outside of the conferences. It's going to events. It's sitting on the board is a really integral part, and you're on the board, so you really know what that job entails. The chief of staff largely runs the administration, but the governor is supposed to continually inspire the delegates and ensure that the experience is a whole one, and so that involves doing many addresses, meeting VIPs, talking to donors. It's really it's a sort of a figurehead position, but then again, you make it what you want. So I really enjoy working with the administration, and research is something I'll always love to do, and helping to write things. And so, regardless of what I don't have to do, I still like getting involved in that.
That's great. Thank you. So, do you have any advice or words of wisdom for the next youth governor, the 67th?
You can't do it all on your own. You need a terrific chief of staff, and Allie has been amazing. You need to be able to delegate responsibility. Somebody who runs for governor wants to do everything, but you really can't. There's so much to do, and there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done. And you'll come into the office with a lot of goals and aspirations, and the fact is you won't be able to do all of them. So you should choose a few things that are really important to you, and people will help you make those happen. And the other things you want to do, you can find people that you trust to work with those goals and make them a reality, because you'll be occupied doing a lot of other things, and stuff comes up at the last second, and you have to be accustomed to working with things that are very random and very sudden.
So then what do you think you yourself will take away from your experience?
Well, the first thing is learning to write a speech 5 minutes before you have to give it sometimes. But really, it's learning to appreciate that other people are willing to do things for you, and if you can show them that you really respect that human relationship is so integral, I think, to just being a leader, or following somebody who you believe in. And I'm really grateful for that experience.
So this will be your last question. Seeing how the general populace of youth in government doesn't often see what the youth governor does behind the scenes, some feel that there is a pattern of youth governors not fulfilling the promises that they made the year before. What promises did you make that you were able to keep, and how did you keep them?
Well, I'm very glad to say that I set out with a very specific agenda, and I've met almost all of the goals that I put forward. And one of them is working with legislators to get our legislation seen. And I've already had discussions with a number of legislators, senators, and assembly people. And so that will hopefully become a reality, that we can get it out there. It's never a guarantee that somebody will sponsor a bill, but the fact that we can get it in front of them is, I think, an accomplishment in and of itself. Another thing I really wanted to do was keep in constant contact with the delegation presidents, and at the meetings I got their numbers, emails, and I sent out a number of informational emails ensuring that they could let their delegation know what was going on, and to let them know that they had my personal ear whenever they needed to share something. And that also entailed me visiting delegations when I could, because I thought that presence was extremely important, that giving back to those who elected you was something you should always do, and show your continued support for whatever they do.
Well, it sounds like you've fulfilled quite a few. Thank you so much for your efforts and for your time today. This has been Elena Dreisbach reporting for Y-Line.
Well, we hope you had a great time at SAC. I'm Vivian Markel.
I'm Patrick Hayes.
And I'm Elena Dreisbach, signing off for Y-Line.